Hello! I wanted to tell you this story already about a month ago. Why am I doing it only now? I kept putting it off till the last point. This is exactly the problem I wanted to tell you about. I am sure that most of you can relate to it. I am a professional procrastinator, which means I basically can't make myself do things. My name is Claire, and this is my story. I am good at studies, and there's hardly a single topic at school that I can't understand. But my marks are awful. My problem started already in middle school. My homework was very large, and neither parents nor teachers controlled us, unlike elementary school. All we got was a deadline and bitter punishment for those who don't meet it. Rules were clear, and I started my middle school all decisive and positive. But suddenly I noticed that all my enthusiasm started fading. Not that I didn't like my studies. Point is, when I got a homework, I didn't manage to make myself start it. For example, I had to write an essay. I sat down at my desk and took a pen and paper. I told myself decisively, "Okay, let's go." I wrote one phrase and started thinking what to write next. In search for inspiration, I decided to check my social feed. Then I watched some video. Then another one. Someone wrote to me and I started chatting. In all that, I remembered that I had an essay to write, but I told myself I still had plenty of time. In the meantime, time was vanishing. And after all, I found myself in front of a blank piece of paper half an hour before bedtime. This doesn't mean that I couldn't concentrate. In that half hour, I wrote an enormous essay in an absolutely hectic manner, with a breathtaking speed, and without even rereading what I wrote. Should I say that the quality of what I wrote was pathetic? The teachers were sometimes shocked by the stupid errors I made in my assignments. Sure, I never had time to check and edit them. On the other hand, I had Mom, who was constantly nagging me. "How can you spend the whole evening for a simple essay? You could have written it in an hour and then do something different like go for a walk or help me." This was valid for all the subjects. I spent all evenings long doing nothing and then practicing speed scribbling in order to meet the deadline. I was so ashamed of myself and was getting nervous every single time I thought of a new homework. I swore to myself that from now on, I would just sit down and write everything I am supposed to at once, check everything 2 times, and finally everyone will see I am actually smart. But to a skilled procrastinator, all these words mean nothing when he is in front of a blank piece of paper. It was some kind of an emotional block I failed to pass. Time passed, and the situation didn't improve. The load of work grew. I couldn't handle the homework. I started missing the deadlines. As I went to high school, my marks became even worse. All this was growing like a giant snowball that was about to bring me to a nervous breakdown. Isn't it stupid that I had all those problems because of a strange numbness in front of a blank piece of paper? I tried to seek help from my parents, but as well-organized people, they just didn't understand the issue. No one had time to sit with me and to control me while I'm doing my homework. One day the situation was supposed to explode, and it surely did. Once I had to write a huge thesis. This was a project that I was supposed to prepare for the whole year, using the library, making scientific research. I scheduled the job, but should I mention that I ignored my own schedule from the very beginning? First, I consoled myself with an idea that there's a whole year ahead of me. Then, half a year would surely be enough. I was getting anxious, but my brain insisted that 3 months were more than enough. When I passed on to 1 month ahead and 0 lines written, I understood that this was a no-turn point. I had to get down to work. The same very day I am supposed to finally start writing something, I break my right arm. Can you imagine? The universe decided to punish me. All in panic, I started my thesis, typing with my left hand, going to the library and trying to hold the book and write simultaneously. I was pathetic. Everyone in my class was already polishing their thesis, and I was only 5 or 6 pages through it. There was no way that I finished my thesis on deadline. I had to come to my prof and tell her that nothing was ready. She said, "Well, you could bring what you have written during the year. We will accept it." God, you need to imagine how ashamed I was when I told her I had just started. I had to tell her I was a procrastinator, and it had already become a pathological state. She was a nice person and turned out very understanding. Thus, she said that she would prepare individual streamline for me so that I could write a decent work in the remaining time, even if of a smaller volume. And I was supposed to do it under her strict control. Thanks to her, I managed to compile my work, and unexpectedly, it was of a better quality than I could have ever hoped. I've learned my lesson. I can't say that I've stopped procrastinating, but at least I've seen what happens when I exaggerate, and I now am trying to learn some time management. I don't want to waste all my life procrastinating. I know that nearly everyone is a procrastinator, so share your story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to see more stories like mine animated.